Welcome back. So we're up to the last document in the Rock of Assure Foundation. It's the story of the murder of James, as told by Eusebius. I included this in the document because I think it's a piece of history that we all need to be familiar with. James was the bishop of the earliest assembly. He took over. He was appointed to that position by Yeshua, so he took over for Yeshua after Yeshua ascended to heaven. So, so anyway, we'll go ahead and read through it. But after Saul, in consequence of his appeal to Caesar, had been sent to Rome by Festus, the Judeans, being frustrated in their hope of entrapping him by the snares which they had laid for him, turned against James, the brother of the Master, to whom the episcopal seat at Jerusalem had been entrusted by the apostles. The following daring measures were undertaken by them against him. Leading him into their midst, they demanded of him that he should renounce faith in Messiah in the presence of all the people. But contrary to the opinion of all, with a clear voice and with greater boldness than they had anticipated, he spoke out before the whole multitude and confessed that our Savior and Master Yeshua is the Son of God. But they were unable to bear longer the testimony of the man who on account of the perfection of wise customs and the fear of God that was in him, which he exhibited in his life, was esteemed by all as the most just of men, and consequently they slew him. Opportunity for this deed of violence was furnished by the prevailing anarchy, which was caused by the fact that Festus had died just at this time in Judea, and that the province was thus without governor and head. The manner of James's death has been already indicated by the above quoted words of Clement, who records that he was thrown from the pinnacle of the temple and was beaten to death with a club. But Hegesippus, who lived immediately after the apostles, gives the most accurate account in the 5th book of his memoirs. He writes as follows: James, the brother of the Master, succeeded to the government of the church in conjunction with the apostles. He has been called the just by all from the time of our Savior to the present day. For there were many that bore the name of James. He was holy from his mother's womb, and he drank no wine nor strong drink, nor did he eat flesh. No razor came upon his head. He did not anoint himself with oil, and he did not use the bath. He alone was permitted to enter into the holy place, for he wore not wool but linen garments. And he was in the habit of entering alone into the temple, and was frequently found upon his knees begging forgiveness for the people, so that his knees became hard like those of a camel, in consequence of his constantly bending them in his worship of God and asking forgiveness for the people. Because of his exceedingly great justice he was called the just, and fortification of the people and their righteousness, in accordance with what the prophets declare concerning him. Now some of the 7 sects which existed among the people, and which have been mentioned by me in the memoirs, asked him, What is the gate of Yeshua? And he replied, That one is the Savior. On account of these words, some believe that Yeshua is the Messiah, but the sects mentioned above did not believe either in a resurrection or in one's coming to give to every man according to his works. But as many as believed did so on account of James. Therefore, when many even of the rulers believed, there was a commotion among the Judeans and scribes and Pharisees, who said that there was danger that the whole people would be looking for Yeshua as the Messiah. Coming therefore in a body to James, they said, We entreat you, restrain the people, for they have gone astray in regards to Yeshua, as if he were the Messiah. We entreat you to persuade all that have come to the feast of Passover concerning Yeshua, for we all have confidence in you. For we bear you witness, as do all the people, that you are just, and do not respect persons. Therefore persuade the multitude not to be led astray concerning Yeshua. For the whole people, and all of us also, have confidence in you. Stand therefore upon the pinnacle of the temple, that from that high position you may be clearly seen, and that your words may be readily heard by all the people. For all the tribes, with the Gentiles also, have come together on account of the Passover. The aforesaid scribes and Pharisees therefore placed James upon the pinnacle of the temple, and cried out to him and said, You just one, in whom we ought to all have confidence, forasmuch as the people are led astray after Yeshua the crucified one, declare to us, what is the gate of Yeshua? And he answered in a loud voice, Why do ye ask me concerning Yeshua the Son of Man? He himself sits at the right hand of Yahweh, and is about to come upon the clouds of heaven. And when many were fully convinced, and glorified the testimony of James, and said, Hosanna to the Son of David, these same scribes and Pharisees said again to one another, We have done badly in supplying such testimony to Yeshua, but let us go up and throw him down, in order that they may be afraid to believe him. And they cried out, saying, Oh, the just man is also in error. And they fulfilled the scriptures written in Isaiah, Let us take away the just man, because he is troublesome to us. Therefore they shall eat the fruit of their doings. So they went up and threw down the just man, and said to each other, Let us stone James the just. And they began to stone him, for he was not killed by the fall. But he turned and knelt down and said, I entreat you, Yahweh, God our Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And while they were thus stoning him, one of the priests of the sons of Rechab, the son of the Rechabites, who are mentioned by Jeremiah the prophet, cried out, saying, Stop what you are doing. The just one is praying for you. And one of them, who was a fuller, took a club, which he beat out the clothes, and struck the just man in the head. And thus he suffered martyrdom. And they buried him on the spot by the temple, and his monument still remains by the temple. He became a true witness both to Judeans and Greeks that Yeshua is the Messiah, and immediately Vespasian besieged them. These things are related at length by Hegesippus, who is in agreement with Clement. James was so admirable a man, and so celebrated among all for his justice, that the more sensible even of the Judeans were of the opinion that this was the cause of the siege of Jerusalem, which happened to them immediately after his martyrdom, for no other reason than their daring act against him. Josephus at least has not hesitated to testify this in his writings, where he says, These things happened to the Judeans to avenge James the Just, who was a brother of Yeshua, that is called Messiah. For the Judeans slew him, although he was a most just man. The same writer records his death also in the 20th book of his Antiquities, in the following words, But the emperor, when he learned of the death of Festus, sent Albinus to be procurator of Judea. But the younger Ananus, who, as we have already said, had obtained the high priesthood, was of exceedingly bold and reckless disposition. He belonged, moreover, to the sect of the Sadducees, who are the most cruel of the Judeans in the execution of judgment, as we have already shown. Ananus, therefore, being of this character, and supposing that he had a favorable opportunity on account of the fact that Festus was dead and Albinus was still on the way, called together the Sanhedrin and brought before them the brother of Yeshua, the so-called Messiah, James by name, together with some others, and accused them of violating the law, and condemned them to be stoned. But those in the city who seemed most moderate and skilled in the law were very angry at this, and sent secretly to the king, requesting him to order Ananus to cease such proceedings, for he had not done right even this first time. And certain of them also went to meet Albinus, who was journeying from Alexandria, and reminded him that it was not lawful for Ananus to summon the Sanhedrin without his knowledge. And Albinus, being persuaded by their representations, wrote in anger to Ananus, threatening him with punishment. And the king Agrippa, in consequence, deprived him of the high priesthood, which he had held 3 months, and appointed Yeshua the son of Damnius. These things are recorded in regards to James, who is said to be the author of the first two of the so-called Catholic epistles, who is said to be the author of the first of the so-called Catholic epistles, but it is to be observed that it is disputed, at least not many of the ancients have mentioned it, as is the cause likewise with the epistle that bears the name of Jude, which is also one of the 7 so-called Catholic epistles. Nevertheless, we know that these also, with the rest, have been read publicly in very many churches. So that's it. That's the end of the Rock of a Sure Foundation. And so until next time, shalom.